Hello, and welcome to Sarcastic Spinster, a PC-free zone, where I question the behavior of the minions of the Pussycat Goddess, aka the women's movement, because love her or hate her, we need to understand her. And today, the minions have been, over the last several days, the minions have been out in full force pushing hate and censorship. So I want to talk. I'm going to do a couple of videos today because it's two separate issues and it'll be too long as one video, so I'm breaking it up. But I want to talk about the way the minions of the Pussycat Goddess have been reacting to the mail bomber and to the shooting at the synagogue in Pennsylvania, which is just awful. But the way that they are finger pointing and blaming and everything is Trump's fault and none of them have any culpability. And I just want to share with you some interactions I've been having on Twitter. And it's around Chelsea Handler, who I've mentioned this before, but the woman is just completely lacking in imagination and has nothing really original to say. And she started out with the mail bomber, who they called the MAGA bomber, just automatically assuming it was all about Trump and labeling it MAGA to tie violence back to Trump in a very transparent way before they even knew who it was. And that was one of the things I called Chelsea Handler out on. So the way that this whole thing started is Chelsea Handler saying, "It is the responsibility of all of our news groups to stop airing Trump's rallies." Full on censorship of the sitting president of the United States. These rallies are not news. They are inciting violence. No evidence of that. He does not encourage violence at those rallies. And hatred, no hatred either, have nothing to do with truth or politics. Neither does Chelsea Handler have anything to do with truth or politics. Please take some responsibility and stop airing them. So what I replied to her was, so we don't know who sent the packages, because this was October 25th. So we don't know who sent the packages, but you have decided unequivocally what their motivations are. You can speak with certainty about what's in the mind of a person or persons who have not yet been identified. You are a great example of what is causing this problem. So here she is, automatically leaping to conclusions. We don't know who it is. We don't know anything about him. And the guy, it turns out, is freaking crazy and has been violent and calling in bomb threats all the way back to 2002, which predates Trump. But of course, anybody who is crazy, who does anything now, is doing it because of Trump in her eyes. So therefore, every bit of violence that occurs in the country is all Trump's fault, and we must censor him now. So full on censorship of the president of the United States with no evidence that it is even tied to him at all. And somebody being a fan of the president does not mean that the president has incited them to violence. Any more than Bernie Sanders is responsible for his supporter going in and shooting the Republicans on the baseball field. That guy was ranting about healthcare. Bernie Sanders had been talking with very fiery rhetoric that the Republicans' healthcare plan was going to kill people. That does not make Bernie Sanders responsible for the actions that this troubled individual did. Bernie Sanders is not responsible for the shooting at the ball field, and Donald Trump is not responsible for the actions of this mail bomber guy. The one who is responsible for his actions is him. Okay? So now, having all I said back to her was being absolutely certain that you know what was motivating an individual when we don't even know who it is part of the problem. So I didn't mention Trump at all. And the response I got from one of the minions was, real question. And then this meme. Seriously, how fucking stupid do you have to be to stay a Trump supporter at this point? So, to engage me, she calls me fucking stupid. Because that is the political discourse. It is okay to hate me and call me fucking stupid, because by asking the question or pointing out the fact that you have already absolutely positively decided with no evidence what the situation actually is, that could be part of our problem. Do you freaking think? Just based on that alone, I'm fucking stupid for still supporting Trump, when she actually has absolutely no evidence that I support Trump. So, what I responded back was, when the other side repeatedly calls me a Nazi for daring to think for myself and break from what I should be allowed to think and say, you make the choice really easy for me, but thank you so much for the loving and charming outreach to try and bring me to heel. And then somebody else responds and says, please, nobody is stopping you from listening to this hateful, racist, and hideous speeches, but the rest of us, the logical people, are tired of his BS. Enough is enough. Okay, nobody is trying to stop me from listening. Chelsea Handler was just pushing censorship of him. So literally the epitome of trying to stop me from listening. But these are the logical people. Okay, and it gets more interesting from there. The other person comes back and says, thinking for yourself, you're a member of a cult, because of course all Trump supporters are members of a cult that blindly supports a pathological liar. You're clearly not capable of thinking for yourself. And I respond back with, your absolute belief in who I am and what I think, while knowing absolutely nothing about me except that I don't think like you, is exactly why I refuse to think like you. My side does not require groupthink to coexist, so who is actually the cult? And then she comes back and says, you believe someone who's told thousands of proven lies. Yes, also known as hyperbole, exaggeration, and jokes. You know what they call hyperbole and exaggeration when the mainstream media uses it? The fucking truth. That pisses me off too. Because hyperbole and exaggeration are not the truth. They're hyperbole and exaggeration and should be called hyperbole and exaggeration. So, I list out okay. Oh, and she ends it with, okay, so you can justify it whatever way you want. You're either gullible, racist, a follower, too stupid to think for yourself, most likely all of the above, hashtag Trump Nazi sheep. And so I respond and said, so my choice is a liar or somebody who calls me, and this is over the course of this discussion, this is what this particular minion of the pussy hat goddess has actually called me. Somebody who calls me a fucking stupid, gullible, racist Nazi sheep. Oh my, decisions. But they don't see this. They don't understand this. They think that being called a Nazi sheep, of being told that I'm not thinking for myself by somebody who is not thinking for themselves, should convince me. By saying they're the logical people, I should automatically agree with their logic because they're telling me that their logic is better than my logic. Now, why is this? Why is it that Trump criticizing people who are also criticizing him is spreading hate and division, but the people criticizing him and all of his supporters and calling us the most awful of things, shoving us into little boxes that they can slap labels on and use to justify their hatred, is not insightful to violence at all. And the only reason that I can come up with is that they believe that their hatred of you or of me is right. And so therefore it's okay. So there's nothing wrong with calling me a Nazi because I'm obviously a fucking Nazi, right? So therefore, calling me a Nazi is not inciting hate. If people want to beat me up because they think I'm a Nazi, well, I'm a Nazi. I deserve to get beat up. Right? And that's their justification. But God forbid that somebody criticize them and somebody get angry at them. Well, that's not justified at all because they are so right and so morally superior to you that any criticism of them is not justified. And you're only criticizing them because you're a Nazi. And none of that, none of this moral superiority with no forgiveness and no redemption, because of they'll use the grab you by the pussy. One of the comments on this string had a hashtag grab you by the pussy. And it's this, oh, well, he said this thing. So because he said this thing, the fact that you still support him after he has said this thing means that you're an awful, horrible, terrible, useless human being who basically deserves to die, and any violence against you is absolutely justified. That's their stance. So I can't condemn that statement and say I don't agree with that statement. I think that was a horrible thing to say, but he has apologized for it profusely. I'm not allowed to forgive him because there can be no forgiveness. By forgiving a statement that somebody made years ago in private, playing up to, a sycophant, basically, that there's no forgiveness for that. There is no redemption. There is no justification for ever treating this individual like a human being again. They are now dehumanized. But that's not contributing to hate and violence at all. Now, is it? Well, Okay, so it is, but it's only contributing to hate and violence against people who deserve to be hated and violently attacked. So it's okay. It's totally different. It's not like, criticizing people for the things that they have said and the things that they have done, whether that criticism is justified or not. Just because you disagree with it doesn't mean that that's not the way that that person feels. And they should be allowed to feel that way, right? Oh, no. No, we're not allowed to have any feelings that are not approved by the great and powerful pussy hat goddess and her deep vagina wisdom. We are not allowed to have any thoughts, any feelings, or any opinions that are not approved. If we do, we will be condemned and never, ever forgiven. There is no forgiveness. There is no redemption. There is no coming back from it. This is the party of tolerance. This is what tolerance means in today's society in America. I call bullshit. I don't know what to do about this. I really don't. And that's one of the reasons that I've taken to YouTube to start talking about this stuff, because I don't understand it. I don't understand I can never change my mind about someone. I am never allowed to forgive someone for saying something stupid. And I've said stupid things. I have said incredibly stupid things over the course of my life. And I have said things that hurt people deeply. And sometimes it was even my intent to do so. And yet, by their logic, I should never, ever be forgiven for this. I am now less than human, and I should be utterly despised by one and all, ostracized from society, and have my all of my human rights revoked. They have fully embraced censorship. They are trying to kill freedom of speech and freedom of thought. I had a little problem with that. So, Bette Midler has also weighed in on some of this stuff, and I may have to unfollow Bette Midler on Twitter, because I have been a fan for years and years and years and years and years. I have just loved her work. I mean, I loved her in Hocus Pocus. I loved her, all the way back in The Rose. I loved, That Old Feeling is one of my favorite movies. It's so cute. Beaches. It's just, she has been an amazing talent. And the hatred that she displays on Twitter is disappointing. She has been she blames Trump for everything. And is openly hateful in calling for, toning down of the rhetoric, and asking about, when he is going to take responsibility for his part in this rhetoric. And I, replied and asked her, I'm like, when are you going to take responsibility for your part in it? You feed it, you breathe life into it, you perpetuate it all over social media. If he's culpable, so are you. But she won't see that because she is right and I am wrong, and therefore her hate is justified, while any anger or resentment or animosity towards, from the Trump supporters is just hatred and bigotry for the sake of hatred and bigotry, and can't have anything at all to do with the fact that we fundamentally disagree with the positions that they're taking. And therefore, it's okay to hate us. It's okay to shoot us. It's okay to beat us up on the street. It's okay to, throw Molotov cocktails at our cars just because they got a Trump sticker on them. It's okay to destroy the offices of the Republicans. It's okay. And that's all fine. That and that hate, that all of that hate and all of that violence, well, that's all Trump's fault too. Because if we weren't all following this hateful racist, then it wouldn't be a problem. And that's actually another thing that somebody tweeted today. Where is this one? Okay, it's this guy, Chelsea Handler, retweeted this guy. So Rob Portman, Senator Portman, had made a statement that Lindsey Graham retweeted that was, I've said consistently that we as a society need to step back from the brink. It's time to lower the rhetoric and focus more on working together to deliver results for the American people. So that's perfectly reasonable, perfectly rational. Okay, I can buy into that. So this other guy responds, and Chelsea Handler thinks it's a great enough response to retweet. And it says, if you really gave a damn, you and the rest of the GOP would march over to the White House and tell the racist prick, in all capital letters, he is a disgrace and he should shut his mouth and resign. Trump spewing hate incites violence. Oh, but, all that hate that you just spewed incites nothing at all, right? That incites peace and love and unity. Let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya because of the racist prick, right? And they don't see it. And they won't see it. And it is just sad. It is just sad. And on the first Chelsea Handler tweet that I talked about, I had somebody else who reached out to me who gave me a little hope because she was legitimately asking questions. She went about it in a pretty bad way. And it was after my, you're calling me the Nazi sheep. Yeah, the decisions. Who do I side with, a liar or somebody who calls me Nazi? And this woman responds with, nah, I just think you're angry, hurt, damaged, hateful, and greedy. That's only part. I have no idea of your story. Tell us. Oh, well, sure. I really want to open up now after I'm just hurt, damaged, hateful, and greedy. Yay. So, and she says, I'm truly curious. I want to know more. Some of what you say makes no sense. I've not called you a single name. You just told me I'm angry, hurt, damaged, hateful, and greedy. But yeah, okay, you're not name calling. You're just using adjectives. Okay, that's way better. You say your side doesn't require groupthink. You realize you're in a large group, right? And that one was really eye-opening for me. So because I'm in a large group, we should all be thinking exactly the same way. I must be engaged in groupthink because I'm part of a group. That was pretty eye-opening for me. And I did respond to her and say, I'm part of a large group, yes, but that does not mean that we all think alike. We all disagree about a lot of things, but agree on most of the core issues. I don't have to agree with everything anybody says, including Trump. If I do, then I'm probably not thinking for myself. And then she says, okay, again, please tell us your story, which I never did do because it's irrelevant. So we know more. You weren't happy. No one asked. I never said I wasn't happy. No one asked. I said you're jumping to conclusions knowing absolutely nothing about me. So this is the logical side, right? These are the logical people who can't even read a tweet and grasp the actual meaning of it. Um, and I had to explain to her what a red pill moment was because I said one of the other ladies that I hope that God would give her red pill moment, and she thought I was trying to kill the woman, I guess. So I had to explain to her that the red pill is in reference to the Matrix, that you take the red pill to unplug from the Matrix and enter reality, and that what you are unplugging from is identity politics and the collectivism that divides us into categories of oppressed and oppressor and pits us all against each other. How the fuck are we going to unify when we're constantly being told we're oppressing each other? I'm a white woman, which means that as a woman, I'm oppressed, but by being white, I'm an oppressor. This is the language that is going around. So, depending on who I'm talking to, I am either oppressed or I am the oppressor. And we really think that dividing Americans into categories of oppressed and oppressor to see who's the bigger victim and make all decisions based off of the who's the bigger victim in general society versus who's at fault in this individual situation based on these individual facts is what's going to unify the country. Don't fucking think so. But that's the logical side. And if you don't believe in dividing people into little boxes of oppressed versus oppressor and making all decisions based on that instead of what the people are actually doing and what the individual facts of the case are, then you are a piece of shit who deserves to be called a Nazi and, attacked and beaten. But they are the thoughtful, caring, compassionate, loving, and tolerant, logical side. And any criticism at all of them is an incitement of violence that they would never, ever earn because they don't ever hurt anybody. Except you fucking Nazis who don't count. So, that is the message for today. The left thinks it's perfectly justified to hurt the right, to incite violence against the right, because they're all fucking Nazis. But any criticism of the left by the right is an incitement of violence against them, which is never justified because they're perfect and morally superior. If you enjoyed this video, please consider a like, share, or a comment below, and think about subscribing if you would. It would really make me happy, and it should all be about me today. So, hashtag Pussy Hat Goddess, something to think about.